joining Clint Stoerner, the former Arkansas starting quarterback there in the late 90s for the Razorbacks, a two-time All-SEC selection, and Clint Stoerner, NFL player. And with that, we welcome Clint to the program. Clint, how you doing this morning?
Man, I'm doing well. If I were you, I would use that NFL player term lightly, man. I had a great front row seat to a bunch of Cowboys games back when they weren't very good. I had a 3-year sideline pass. How about that?
Yeah, but you know what? The checks still cashed, didn't they? Didn't
they? They were there. They were at the window every Tuesday afternoon. Yes, sir, they were. You're right.
That's all that matters. And you didn't take some of the big shots that were still allowed on quarterbacks back then, Clint. We can't hit the quarterback anymore in the National Football League.
Yeah, isn't it crazy, man? What's going on? I mean, I think obviously you got to protect guys, and particularly you got to protect guys above the shoulders nowadays. And I 100% agree on. I think what they're trying to get accomplished, but like the NCAA and the NFL do so often, it seems like they've gone to an extreme and maybe gone a little bit overboard with some things. But hopefully they'll get it figured out. You know what, man? Truth be told, I'm gonna watch either way. So it's all good.
Yeah, I think you hit on it. We all sort of gnash our teeth and wail and all those things, but what happens Sunday at noon, right? We got the red zone on, we got the Cowboys on, we got the Falcons or the Saints. We're tuned in, and that's what ultimately matters the most to the league. Now, we went back and forth a little bit through DM this morning. I let you know that my first trip to Razorback Stadium was 1998. And I got to tell you, Clint, you and your teammates, Anthony Lucas, the rest of those guys, you weren't hospitable host that evening back in 1998. Put a real thumping on the Alabama Crimson Tide. I
hope our fans treated you guys well. I mean, I can't say that we wanted to do anything less than what we ended up doing on the field. That was one of the best, I think, moments of my career in college. Was one that gets brought up. Obviously, the one that gets brought up the most is the Tennessee debacle, and then beating Tennessee in '99, and then beating Alabama 42-6, I believe it was that day. Was it doesn't happen very often, I know that much. So at the time, it was just another victory, and we were young kids, happy to be in the moment. But now, being an older guy, looking back on it, boy, you realize that it don't matter who was coaching. It doesn't matter what year it was or what era it was. Alabama didn't lose like that too many times. So me and my teammates from back then, we do like to talk about that when we get together for sure.
Do you and your teammates from that 98 team, do you kind of go back and forth with some of the guys from 2006 as to who had the better team under Houston? Those two teams were really good. You guys in 98, especially, you did some good things in 99 too, but 2006, that team, I guess, went to Atlanta. You guys tied with Mississippi State for the SEC Western Division crown in 98. Which way do you go? I mean, I'm guessing you got to lean your way, but splitting hairs, I guess, between those two teams.
Well, it's splitting hairs. I mean, those are the two teams of I guess, that era, late 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s that everybody talks about. And I mean, I feel like we really were one of the better teams in the country that year. I mean, we unfortunately lost that game to Tennessee. We had beaten them all over the field, and everybody knows how it ended. And then I think we were a little bit hung over the next week in Mississippi State and let that one slip as well. But looking back, I mean, Tennessee having gone on and won the whole thing, and I got to believe that we were one of the better teams that year. But the 06 team, they had a little more star power than we had, man. We were just a bunch of no-names, guys that we had grown tired our first few years to Arkansas of getting our tail whooped every game. And we decided that, we were back into a corner, and we decided to play a little bit of pretty good football in 98, 99. I think that group in 05 was star-studded with Darren McFadden. I don't care what anybody says. He's still
incredible.
It was the year Darren was there, right? Yeah, they played Florida for the championship. Darren is one of those guys that you put on his highlight film from the early 2000s, and it doesn't matter if it's HD, it doesn't matter if it's a box TV. That sucker looks like he could play today, and you can't say that for many players. So that T-Mac year was pretty special.
D-Mac was so good that offense would just go wild hog, right? And just snap it to him.
Yeah,
a lot.
They did, that was Gus Malzahn, man. That was Gus kind of coming out party. I think he had a good VIP list in his coming out party, didn't he? You got Felix Jones, and I mean, you had an All-American center that year. You had some guys that could go now.
Yeah, Peyton Hillis, I guess, a part of that as well. In that backfield, it was amazingly talented. Let me ask you about the present situation in the Southeastern Conference. Going into this season, Clint, there was a lot of buzz about quarterback play being as good as maybe it's been in a decade or so in the SEC. How would you sort of evaluate the play behind center in the league to this point with a month of the season under our belts?
Well, I tell you, I was never one, and I know I hear it a lot, and there's a lot of strong opinions out there, but I was never one to believe that the quarterback play was down. Now, I think the competition that you face week in, week out is a little bit better than it is in other conferences, and a lot of teams are a little bit more pro style than other conferences are. So SEC has not, now they are a little bit more now, but they've not always been a top to bottom pass happy league like some of the other ones out there. So I think quarterbacks of the past probably got a little bit of a bad rap there. But with that said, I think these guys, anytime you've got Drew Lock doing what he's, I mean, look, you can't take away from what that kid's done. The sample size is larger than most. I mean, he's been really, really dynamic and prolific for several years now. You've got the young guns in the league that are really, really doing well. So I think the quarterback situation is probably a little bit better this year than the past years. But I think the opinion of the quarterback, SEC quarterback position is head over heels better this year than it has been. I'm just not one to believe that it was that bad in the past. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, I think
absolutely.
I think guys got a bad rap, but it's definitely a step up this year, no doubt about it.
I got to ask you about Tua Tagovailoa. Everybody's got an opinion on the guy. It mostly has been glowing, as you might expect, given the data, the numbers, the performances that we've seen from him to date. What have you seen from this sophomore quarterback?
Well, I mean, I've seen what everybody's seen. He's awfully special. I mean, there's no doubt about it. What he can do with that left arm, and obviously which is tied to his mind and his feet. At a high level, I mean, there's nobody that throws the ball better than him in the country. The one thing that I will say is that, I think that I know that he's got, it's very easy, or it's not easy, it's never easy, but it's significantly easier to play the position at a high level when you've got the protection that he has, the receivers that he has, the security in the defense. The weekly preparation is always next level with Nick Saban, and now you've got Dan Enos over there coaching the quarterbacks. So his day-to-day, I mean, he has got a quarterback cannot be put in a better situation than the one that's at Alabama relative to having success on the field and in today's game. And so he's obviously doing as good as anybody has under those circumstances, and it's awfully impressive. I want to see, and I'm not wishing bad things on anybody, I'm anxious to see the first bit of adversity that he gets. I think that's when you really find out what quarterbacks are about. That's when you find out, because when you get to the league and when you get to the games that matter, we all know that the margin of error gets very small. You're asked to do maybe a lot more, a little bit less. So I'm anxious to see how he handles adversity. That's going to be the true test, in my opinion, is how he handles that rough game, rough half. Does he keep coming back and bang through it and survive the onslaught of questioning and all? Where does he fall in that situation? And in those circumstances is really, whether he can take that next step or not. He's obviously physically unbelievably talented. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and you're referring more to adversity by his own creation, Because we saw him against Georgia in a 13-0 game, but he's coming off the bench as a backup in that situation. Is that what you're kind of getting to in terms of the difference between what we saw against Georgia and what we might see down the road?
I think there's been situations in the national championship game. There was an interception, there was a fumble that could have went the other direction, there was a touchdown pass he's actually throwing to somebody else. I mean, those are all things that when they come out on the positive end, we put them behind them and we chalk them up as good stats and we move forward. Earlier this year, I believe it was in game 1 or maybe game 2. I think it was his very first touchdown, actually. When his very first drive, he's spinning around down there, and he just slings the ball up over to the right side, and the receiver turns, the DB never sees it, the receiver catches it. If the DB turns, he intercepts that. That's your first drive of the season. That's your first impression coming off the national championship game. Not to mention, he got his legs swiped out from underneath him, and that's one of those things where you want to protect yourself because you can get hurt doing those kind of things, running around playing backyard ball. Those are things that went his direction. And those are things that are going to continue to go his direction because of the way they prepare, the guys he's got around him. And I'm just anxious to see the first time that does go against him. And he has a little bit of bad luck. We all have it. As quarterbacks, we've all had it. I'm anxious to see how he handles it. Not anxious is not the right word. I'm interested in seeing how he handles it because that's really the only way that this kid isn't one of the best to ever play the game in college football is if for some reason he can't handle the adversity, the scrutiny when negative things happen.
Talking with Clint Stoerner,
special otherwise.
Former Arkansas quarterback, 2-time All-SEC selection. Appreciate Clint joining us here on a Wednesday edition of Southern Fried Sports presented by Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa and Carty and Lloyd Attorneys at Law. As we let you go, Clint, tell us what Chad Morris is dealing with right now in year 1 as the Arkansas head coach, especially on the offensive side of the ball, right?
Well, man, it's a nightmare. Defense is playing really good. Chavis has got those guys playing really good, and that's why I give them a chance the rest of the season. In the majority of the games on the schedule, I feel like they'll at least have a chance, similar to the A&M game this past week. Was a 7-point game. They had the ball with a chance to win or tie late in the game with under 2 minutes left. So the defense is playing well, and fortunately they're going to keep them in games. But offensively, man, it's rough right now. They've got significantly better, but when I say a team hit rock bottom, this is a team that offensively for sure hit rock bottom against North Texas 3 weeks ago. I mean, it was bad. 6 turnovers. You lose convincingly to a North Texas football team. I mean, it can't get any lower. The adversity that I talked about, that I'm interested to see what Tua does. I mean, this team was put through some serious adversity, and they're steadily climbing out of that hole. And like Lou Holtz said back in the day, man, the quickest way out of a hole is to quit digging. It seems like these guys have quit digging, and offensively they've got their work cut out for them. But every week is getting better, and you hear Coach speak all the time. But I mean, you hear him talk about, well, this is about my team. This is about us. This is truly about Arkansas at this point in time. I mean, it's obviously you got to go play number 1 in the country, but these guys, it's about each one of them getting better with technique, regardless of who's coming to town. Unfortunately, you get the best in America coming to town. But it's about getting better with technique. It's about receivers getting better with releases and creating a little bit of separation. It's about the quarterback getting the ball out on time and quarterback placement. The very basic details of the game that you have to do to play winning football, Arkansas is focusing on right now on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, there you go, Clint. Can't thank you enough for joining us, my man. Hope to see you out there in Fayetteville on Saturday. Again, thank you so much for the time. Great work, as always. We'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, thanks for having me.